So we're now going to bring on our first guest, Mary Mancini, chair of the Tennessee Democratic Party. So welcome, Mary. It's an honor to have you.
Hi.
Hi, Mary. How you doing?
I'm good. Rudy, how are you?
Great, great, great. It's such an honor to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me, and thank you so much for doing this. It's so great and so important, and really appreciate it.
Mary, I just wanted to say that we really appreciated, in addition to all your leadership in the Tennessee Democratic Party, I learned last night that you started a record store and all ages music venue in Nashville, which is just very awesome, and really glad to have you here for this politics music event.
I know. I feel like I'm going home. I feel like I'm home, actually. So this is great. Thank you.
So yeah, we've got a couple of questions. The first one is, with the pandemic and the various, natural disasters that seem to come and go in our country these days, it's really important for people to have the safest and most convenient option possible to vote. So in Tennessee, for voting this November, what's the safest, easiest way for people to vote? And are there any deadlines people should keep in mind in order to be able to do that?
Sure. So we have the one good thing we have in Tennessee when it comes to voting is we do have a solid 2-week early voting period. And so what we are suggesting people do is vote early during early voting and get it out of the way, right? You'll for so many different reasons, right? You avoid the chaos and the long lines that may happen, on election day. You reduce the danger of either catching the pandemic or spreading the pandemic to other folks. We have had instances of natural disasters happening on election day, as well. As you mentioned, there's a lot of confusion and restriction in Tennessee around absentee voting. And so, the safest, easiest, quickest thing to do is to vote early during early voting. And so that period of time in Tennessee is set for everyone, right? It's October 14th through October 29th. However, in all 95 counties in Tennessee, the hours are different. So the day and the locations obviously are different. So what you want to do if you live in the state is to go to iwillvote.com and number one, check to make sure you're still registered. If you're not registered, you could register there. And then also when you check your registration, you'll be able to see your county's early voting times and locations. It may not, our Secretary of State is dragging his feet a little bit in uploading that information. So if you do need to, you can just Google your county election commission and go straight to that source as well. The other deadline I wanted to mention is voter registration deadline, which is October 5th. So, the other great thing in Tennessee is we have online voter registration. So you have to make sure that you are registered or that you can register online, that you do that by October 5th. If you register by filling out a form, it has to be postmarked by October 5th. Or if you drop it off to a election commission near you, it has to be dropped off by October 5th.
Great. So you vote in person early. You register by October 5th online and go to iwillvote.com to figure out your closest polling place and their hours.
Yes. And again, if you go through the process of checking your registration at iwillvote.com and the information is still old, the last time I checked, it was still for early voting in August, then just Google your county election commission and you'll be able to get the information there. Or call them. Use a phone.
The old
fashion.
The way we used to do it.
Right.
Mary, I have another question for you.
Sure.
So there are a lot of races happening this election that are extremely important. Everything from the presidential to the Senate to local to state legislature. So what are some of the key races that the Tennessee Democratic Party are involved in with this year up and down the ballot that you want to talk to us about?
Well, first of all, we are so excited because for the last several cycles, more and more people in Tennessee have embraced the fact that they are Democrats and that they want to work for the Democratic Party. And a lot more people have started to step up and run for office, and they're a lot more diverse than they have been in the past, a lot younger than they have been in the past. And so we're just incredibly thankful that that the idea that we have been expressing over the past 6 years or so is that we are building a Tennessee Democratic Party for the future is actually happening, right? That's exactly what we're doing. And so we're really excited about that. And so so what does that look like? Well, at the top of our ticket is our US Senate candidate, Marquita Bradshaw. And she is young and she is African-American, and she's the only African-American woman who is running for the US Senate this cycle. And we're incredibly proud of that. And she is an amazing candidate. She's traveling across the state. She's working really hard. She's connecting to voters. You know, Tennessee is a really long state, right? It's just 95 counties from one end to the other, just really long. And so she's been just traveling with her team and just, you know, propping up other Democrats who are running, like I said, connecting with voters, and just really standing up for her values, which are also Democratic Party values. So we're thrilled about her. And then we have just some amazing candidates running for Congress as well, also very diverse and young. And so we've got, you know, folks like Renee Hoyos, who's running in East Tennessee, and Kieran Shripata, who's running in West Tennessee. And then we have, even further down, our state house and state Senate races are really important as well. So, you know, in 2016, we flipped a state house seat from Republican to Democrat, and that was the first time that happened in 20 years. And then in 2018, we flipped 2 more seats. Which is also like, it's just, so it keeps getting better, right? Democratic vote share in Tennessee keeps increasing, and that translates into us having more folks at the state house and state Senate. And so we've got a real shot. And so some of our rock star candidates, I mean, there's so many, and I'm going to mention names at the risk of leaving someone out. But, you know, we have Heidi Campbell and Glenn Scruggs and Ronnie Glynn all running for state Senate. We've got Andrew Bon Johnson running for state house, Brandon Thomas running for state house, Tori Harris running for state house. Brandon and Tori would be, if elected, they're both African-American, but they would also be the first openly gay state house members elected to our legislature. And so, you know, just having, again, you know, it's about diversity, it's about standing up for our values, but it's also about building a party that represents who Tennesseans really are. And so we're really excited about all of those races.
Mary, thanks so much for that. I'm excited. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you want to find out more about our candidates, you could go to tndp.org, and there's a link there. And we've got information about all of our candidates that are running up and down the ballot.
Sweet. Thanks for sharing that. It just gives me so much hope to hear what's happening in Tennessee and how it's evolving, right? Because when we think about a traditionally red state, you know, a lot of times it discourages Democrats to run or even organize. But, you know, seeing what's happening with Marquita's race, right, and how exciting that is. And then when you go down the ballot, you mentioned like Renee Hoyos and Karen and all these other state and Senate races. They're so important. 2018 flipped 2 seats, like that. That's really incredible. With all the gerrymandering that happens, right? And that we still are able to flip seats. So what is that saying about how Tennessee is changing in terms of the demographics and ideals, right? And it's incredible to hear, and I was so happy to hear that the Dem voter share is also increasing. So thanks for sharing that website with us. So everyone, if you didn't catch it, is tndp.org. So it's TN as a Tennessee, dp.org, and we'll put that in the chat as well. Thanks.
Maybe one last question is, what are some ways that folks in state or out of state can get involved?
Sure. So volunteering for our candidates, right? So, you know, Rudy is expressed exactly why we're excited as well, but we have opportunity and we're making opportunity, but we can't just expect voters to vote for us. We need to do outreach for them, to them on behalf of our candidates, because our candidates can only do so much. Because we have to make the case to folks who are saying things like, you know, I didn't leave the Republican Party left me, right? Or independent voters who are willing this cycle to maybe not just automatically vote for a Republican. And then also to our Democratic base who needs to hear from our voters that we share and stand up for those values. So we need people helping us contact by phone those three groups. And so you can also, if you go to the TNDP website, there's a link to volunteer. And then we can set you up with a virtual phone bank that you can do from your home. And, you know, if it's an hour a week, or if it's an hour a day, or if it's 8 hours a day, you know, whatever you can do, it's all really helpful. And again, because we have opportunity, we just have to make sure that we take advantage of that opportunity.
Mary, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate having you on amidst these Tennessee musicians, and keep on doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you both so much. And thank you to all the musicians who are doing this. It's so important and so helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, keep going.